Okay, Samson, are you ready to go to work? Huh? It's good boy. Yep. We have got all the flats run the second time, but as you can see, that's still not quite dry, and that's a trouble you run into when it's winter time and it's got a tiny little heater like that thing going. Most of it's dry though. These are, you can see how it's shrank back. Kind of see that tape underneath. That's why I got to hit this stuff more than once. These look good. But now the first thing we're going to do before we do the flats again, before we flush the flats out with the 12-inch box, we're going to do these angles. And basically we're going to use a tool like this, angle squeeze box. We take the same angle head, and it's got a release there. We just simply put that on. That's where the mud fills, right there. Fill it up. This moves out. And then as you go down the angle, you push. And it pushes mud out that hole into there. And then it coats all the stuff with the second coat of mud. It's actually mud and tape, and then you go over it again with that angle head. And so we're going to do all the angles. Then we're going to give these some more attention, these coved out angles, and then coat the other side of those offset angles. That'll be that step. And then after that, we're going to flush it out with the 12-inch box and do all the flats and the butt joints again. So let's go. We're going to mix up some mud here. That stuff's going to be pretty runny. It's going to make running the angles a lot easier. So really creamy there. And then it squeezes out easier, or else you're pushing that thing as hard as you can. It's just like, holy crap. But it's all about the mud consistency, and it needs to be fairly runny. It's going to be kind of messy, but it's worth it. Take this thing off, what we use to fill the box is going to leave that open. And that's just going to fit into there. Then we're just going to start pumping. Just going to pump that full. And then it's going to come out that angle. You just pump out that thicker mud out of there until you get the thin stuff in there. And then you're going to be ready to go. So that thing just coats it really well. Then up there, you're going to star those corners out as well and make that look flush like you did the first time. So get on our stilts to do that higher stuff. Try to eliminate as much sanding as possible so it ends up like this. These are nice and feathered, and there's really nothing to sand. So the next step with the flushing with the 12-inch box and the angle head, I try to do the same thing. And then at the last, I'll do a little sanding and touch up, take the imperfections out that the tools haven't gotten, and then just try to minimize that sanding as much as possible because it's no fun. Okay, you've got your 12-inch box. We've got the setting on 3 for the recess edges, and then we're going to change it and go full bore for that butt joint down there. So let's run the recess. And then we're going to change that real quick, put on full. That time we had to skip the outlet, so we're going to have to take a 12-inch knife and clean that up a little bit. But if you go down the center of the butt joint this time, It's going to even that butt joint out. Remember, we did the 8-inch box on both sides, left the middle. Now we're going down the middle. So that pretty much flushes it out. Obviously, if you have a bad butt joint, you're going to have to give it some 12-inch knife work and just flush it out more and spread it wider until it starts to even out. These tools are so great for doing this. Without them, it's a lot of work. These are a lot of work also, but they make it much faster and better. And it comes out more even because you're not always lifting your knife off. They're just a steady motion. So this will be the last automatic tool we'll use on this job. Next will be all done by hand. It doesn't take much pressure at all to get this off. And when you're sanding, you want to sand just enough to remove those high points. Don't sand it too much where the paper on the drywall starts to fuzz up, because that could show up underneath the texture. So you're just going to kind of hit it. That's basically it. Doesn't much. It's 80 grit paper. It really cuts that stuff right off, especially the topping. If you use topping, that's the best stuff because it sands a lot easier. Now it's time to get the mask on because I don't want to breathe any more of this junk than I have to. So you've got all your flats and your angles sanded. So next you're gonna go and sand your corner bead. You use a sanding block like this and just hit it like that. It'll come out nice. Just trying to focus, there's no light. Or I like to do it this way because there's less dust. And if you use your little rubber tool and clean the surfaces off good when you ran the bull nose, then it's going to be easier to use a sponge. And then you're just going to wipe that off. And that's nice and clean right there. Way easier to do it that way over the sanding block or the sanding paper. And then you don't have any chance of roughing up that paper that's over the bull nose. Now they sell bull nose without the paper cover. I like the paper cover because the texture sticks better to it. Even if you prime it, that's just my preference. Okay, now for the touch-up. And that's simple. You're just gonna go throughout the job and look for places that need some attention. Like this. That's a scratch, so simple to fix that. Just take a little mud. And it's gone. And that's what we do, just walk around, do some touch-up. Look at stuff that might show under texture. And that comes from experience, but basically you want to take care of stuff like that and any kind of thing you sanded. Here we still need to spot the screws right there. So use one of mine. Spot those. There's a small place under the box. That's it, just go through all the job and fix all that. Then you're ready for some primer. Okay, really good to take some caulking, the paintable kind, and not silicone, just the regular acrylic latex. And go ahead and put it on where that bull nose meets. And just smear that in there. That way, that will not crack. Obviously, there's a joint there and it's going to crack. But when you put the caulking on there, it prevents that. I usually do it before the primer because the primer kind of seals it in there. And if it does crack, just put a little more in there. That way, I'll take care of that. It won't crack down the road on the homeowner. Real simple fix for that. Hey, what's for lunch? I try to keep it simple. I'm trying to become a buff dude. So, I got a pear. I got an apple. And I've got some protein, Buff Dude special recipe, Rice Krispie bars. Yummy. That's gonna fuel me for what I need to finish this job today.